In summer of May 2014, a horrifying crime shook the quiet town of Waukesha, Wisconsin. It wasn't committed by an adult or a notorious criminal, but by two seemingly ordinary 12-year-old girls. Their victim? A classmate and friend. Their motive? To prove their loyalty to Slender Man, an eerie urban legend born from the darkest corners of the internet. How could children commit such an atrocity? Why did they believe they had to kill in the name of a fictional character? To fully grasp the shocking events of the Slender Man stabbing case, it's important to understand who, or what, Slender Man is. The character first appeared on an online forum called Something Awful in 2009, during a contest where users were invited to create paranormal images and stories. One of the users, Eric Knudsen, also known as Victor Surge, uploaded 2 black and white photos of children playing with a tall, shadowy figure looming in the background. This figure became known as Slender Man, an unnaturally tall, faceless man in a black suit with long, spindly arms. Slender Man was, of course, pure fiction, a ghostly figure born from the collective imagination of online users. However, for 2 young girls, Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser, the legend became terrifyingly real. Morgan Geyser, Anissa Weier, and Payton Leutner were 6th grade classmates who lived in Waukesha, a quiet suburb with a population of around 70,000. Like many girls their age, they enjoyed sleepovers, playing outside, and giggling over shared interests. Morgan and Payton had been close friends since 4th grade, and it was through Morgan that Anissa joined the group. But Morgan's interests were a bit unusual. She was drawn to horror stories, and her fascination with Slender Man grew as she spent hours reading about him online. Anissa, who was relatively shy and had few close friends, soon became intrigued by the Slender Man mythos as well. The 2 girls formed a tight bond over their shared obsession, frequently discussing the sinister character and diving deeper into his mythology. Their conversations grew more alarming as they became convinced that Slender Man was not only real but that they needed to do something drastic to gain his favor. Morgan and Anissa became consumed by the belief that Slender Man would harm their families if they did not offer a sacrifice in his name. They decided that their victim would be their mutual friend, Payton Leutner. The girls' plan to murder Payton wasn't a spontaneous decision. It was something they discussed and prepared for months in advance. They believed that after killing Payton, they could become Slender Man's proxies and would be allowed to live in his mansion in the Nicolet National Forest. In their young, impressionable minds, this sacrifice was not only necessary but noble. Their original plan was to murder Payton during a sleepover at Morgan's house on May 30, 2014. The 3 girls played together, celebrated Morgan's birthday, and appeared to be having a normal sleepover. But the reality was far darker. Morgan and Anissa had planned to kill Payton that night by stabbing her in her sleep. However, their nerves got the best of them. Morgan later stated that she couldn't go through with it because she wanted to give Payton one more day to live. The following morning, on May 31st, the 3 girls went to a nearby park, which included a wooded area called David's Park. It was a place they had often visited before, but this time, Morgan and Anissa had a sinister plan in mind. They suggested a game of hide and seek, a perfect pretext to lure Payton into the woods, away from prying eyes. At one point, Anissa suggested that Payton lie down on the ground and cover herself with leaves, pretending to hide. As Payton lay there, Morgan handed Anissa the knife, signaling for her to stab their friend. Anissa couldn't do it and handed the knife back. It was Morgan who ultimately carried out the attack. With Anissa watching and encouraging her, Morgan stabbed Payton 19 times with a 5-inch kitchen knife. The attack was vicious, with the blade piercing Payton's arms, legs, and torso. 2 of the wounds were perilously close to major arteries. One cut came within a millimeter of a vital artery near her heart. After the attack, Morgan and Anissa told Payton to stay put and promised they would get help, but it was all a lie. They fled the scene, intending to begin their journey to Slender Man's supposed mansion. Left bleeding and alone, Payton showed incredible strength and determination. Despite her severe injuries, she managed to drag herself out of the woods and onto a nearby road. There, a passing cyclist spotted her and immediately called 911. She was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Payton was incredibly lucky to survive the attack. Surgeons worked tirelessly to repair the damage done by the stabbing. Despite being so close to death, Payton pulled through, a testament to her will to live. Morgan and Anissa were found later that day, walking along the side of Interstate 94, still trying to make their way to the Nicolet National Forest. When police apprehended them, both girls quickly confessed to the crime. Their explanation was chilling. They genuinely believed that killing Payton was the only way to prevent Slender Man from harming their families.
Anissa told me we had to.
Why?
Because she said that he'd kill our families.
That's Morgan Geyser at her sentencing hearing after pleading.
Morgan was disturbingly calm during the interrogation, showing little remorse. Anissa, although emotional, insisted that she believed in the necessity of the act. The trial of Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier shocked the world, raising difficult questions about the mental health of young people and the influence of online culture. Both girls were charged as adults with attempted first-degree intentional homicide, despite their age. During the trial, it became clear that Morgan Geyser was suffering from serious mental health issues.
One of the teens who stabbed a classmate in the so-called Slender Man case has been released from custody.
We thought this day would come, and again,
Leutner survived the attack. All 3 girls were 12 at the time. Back in July, a judge ordered the mental health facility where
She was diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia, a condition that had gone undetected and untreated throughout her childhood. She often had hallucinations and was convinced that Slender Man was real. Anissa, while not diagnosed with a similar illness, was described as susceptible and delusional, heavily influenced by Morgan and their shared belief in the myth of Slender Man. In 2017, both girls accepted plea deals. Anissa Weier was sentenced to 25 years in a mental health institution, while Morgan Geyser received 40 years in a secure psychiatric facility, the longest sentence ever handed down to a child in Wisconsin. Both girls continue to receive treatment, and their sentences are subject to periodic review based on their mental health. Payton Leutner survived the attack, but the emotional and psychological scars remain. After years of physical and emotional recovery, Payton has spoken publicly about her experience. She continues to demonstrate resilience and strength in the face of unimaginable trauma. The attack has left lasting effects, but Payton has expressed her determination to move forward and live a full life. The Slender Man case sparked national debates about the influence of the internet on young minds. It also raised awareness about the importance of early mental health intervention for children and the dangers of untreated mental illness. In the aftermath of the case, schools and parents alike were urged to monitor online behavior more closely and to look for warning signs of obsession with dark, harmful content. In an unsettling turn, Slender Man continued to grow in popularity after the case, spawning a feature film in 2018. Despite the horror associated with the character, the mythos of Slender Man lives on in digital culture. As the case was solved by the officials, the haunting question remains: could something like this happen again? In a world where digital myths and stories continue to evolve, the Slender Man case stands as a warning. Sometimes, what we think is harmless fiction can spiral into something far more sinister.